Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
What kind of a donut are you having today?
You're terrible at this. So what is everybody's favorite donut? Right now, currently, based on the season, I'd probably fall back on Boston cream because there isn't really a particularly, unless you're like a heart-shaped donut for Valentine's Day, I'm not really feeling it. Anybody in the chat room? So one of the things exciting about this Lost Chapter, Craig, I don't know if you mentioned this. This is being recorded. Ooh, the maple bar. Is that shaped round? Or is a maple bar sort of like a donut stick?
I'm not familiar, Andy, with the cruller. What is a cruller? And what is it cruller than?
Ooh,
that's not really. That's really unkind because that's really not the way you spelled it. It's okay. Maple bar is a West Coast thing, but it sounds good.
I think you guys can send pictures to the chat.
Can Bob send us a picture? What, Bob? If you're in Dunkin' Donuts right now, I might have my head explode.
All right, we should probably take a moment and just explain for the listeners who are tuning in after this has been recorded. We're trying a new experiment here with a live chat in Patreon, and we're actually dynamically talking to people in the chat room.
Sorry.
And Craig is randomly commenting, so that's fine.
I'm just yelling at people as they come in the door to the Dunkin' Donuts at the center of the universe.
So great. So we're happy to have you all here. And we were currently chatting about Dunkin' Donuts. And right now, the votes are in. We should make a poll for this, but the votes are in right now. And it appears to be.
We should also explain that we have the ability to make a poll.
Maple bars, blueberry cake donuts, and Krispy Kreme is better than Dunkin', is what someone is saying. Anything's better than Tim Hortons. That's pretty much what I go with.
Oh, wow. We're just going to go there.
We're right there, baby.
Okay.
Okay. So we should go back to some of our questions, Craig.
Yes. Why don't we actually? Okay. So now that we're all gathered around this giant booth in the Dunkin' Donuts at the center of the universe. Yes. Why don't we go back to some questions? Now, the whole point of this actually is that we have been lax, we feel. And reaching out to our patrons to show you how much we appreciate you. We have some big plans for 2018. This is, of course, our 10th anniversary, which is a pretty big deal for us. And so we are. This is phase one, if you will, of our new patron outreach. Is an attempt to kind of bring you guys into the show on a weekly basis. Hopefully, we're hoping that the Lost Chapters will now be a more interactive event, and we're still hoping that usually we will have our the upcoming third chair in with us. This time around, we kind of thought we didn't want to embarrass ourselves in front of an outsider, and then Russ, we're thinking achievements, right?
Yeah, so you can tune into this sort of chat format live now weekly. That's going to be the plan. And as you guys will probably know at this point, we record a single episode of the show. It takes 2 weeks to record an episode of the D6G. We record it pretty much every Wednesday night. So 99% of the time, but not always, there are exceptions, but 99% of the time, we're recording at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. And on one of the Wednesdays, we record a Lost Chapter and one of the segments of the show. And on the other Wednesday, we record rapid fire achievements and the other segment of the show. And so what we wanted to be able to do was allow patrons to sort of interact, listen to us record parts of the show live, as well as, make comments, and we'll read them as we record and do things. And we thought it'd be kind of fun to always record the Lost Chapters live like this. And then also on the other week, we would record achievements live like this. So we won't do the whole show live, but it will allow you guys to sort of be more interactive on the Lost Chapters and also more interactive on achievements. So you guys can also comment, kind of like we do at Gen Con a little bit, what you've been playing lately as well, and kind of chime in too. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes. And as Craig mentioned, we got lots of things we're going to try to do this year to kind of just celebrate the fact that it's been 10 years. And thanks to all of you at Patreon have really allowed it, our advertisers allowed us to get started, but it's really you guys that keep us going now. And that's a good thing. So we're very excited about that. Hey, Craig, we've got some questions coming in the question queue here. So I think we should answer them. I feel like that's what we should be doing here. So one of them was, we skipped one, but Craig, are there any Adepticon plans for you this year? Uh-oh, I think we lost Craig. So there's a good test. Let me see if I can get him back. He seems to have dropped off completely. I don't know if he logged off or lost his internet connection. Well, there he is. Let me see if I can invite him back on screen. I don't know what happened there to him. I can hear. I just re-invited you back to screen, Craig. You must have somehow accidentally, or maybe there was a bug that kicked you off to not being a presenter. So I'll invite you back again. All right. I've invited you back a second time. All right. Craig is attempting to get back on screen. There he is.
Hello, know Craig. What I did. Never mind. Yeah. I'm gonna blame who am I gonna blame? Let's see, I have all of you to blame. I'm gonna blame David. Okay. Because I was trying to update an icon, and especially when I realized I was a kitten, and somehow I knocked myself off.
One of the dangers of this whole thing now is Craig has a lot more power.
Yeah, you don't want these recordings me. It goes way beyond. It goes way beyond the echo. Like, can you even hear the echo?
Oh yeah, we can totally hear the echo.
Not only do I have the new power, but I have the old power as well. Oh, I'm unstoppable.
So Craig, I keep trying to ask this question. Every time I do, you seem to hang up or something.
Yes.
So do you have any Adepticon plans?
Yes, it's fun. I actually had like a minute logged in answering this question, but you couldn't hear me. We just finalized our plans with the pirates over at Firelock Games to do another big mega battle for Blood and Plunder. And this time around, I'm going to be bringing all of the cool terrain with me that I built, not the giant ship, but a lot of. We're going to make a big pirate encampment in the middle of the table, and we're going to have a big a battle over the spoils in the pirate encampment. So we've got big plans for that. Other than that, I don't tend to plan that much for Adepticon, other than like hoping to get games in after the fact, and I just try to demo. What about you, Russ? You just yesterday were saying you should sign up for some Rune Wars.
I think I want to sign up for Rune Wars. Yeah, I am loving Rune Wars. One of the things we're going to be doing for the local convention, Captain Con here, which is coming in Rhode Island here in a couple weeks, is Craig and I always run something there as well. Because for those, I think all of you guys here probably know this story already, but we started actually at the conference that is, or the venue that has become Captain Con 10 years ago.
Right.
So we like to run events there still, and we always try to run some new, whatever the new hotness that we're excited about. And Rune Wars is that hotness. So, but I'm loving it. So Craig and I now have, between the two of us, we have all 4 Rune Wars factions. Craig is currently painting up the, what do they call, Craig? I just call them the Chaos Dudes.
They're called the Uthuk Ilan.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, no, I was just going to answer the question. Video is currently disabled for bandwidth reasons. Also for, visibility here. But I'll turn mine on briefly and just say, hello, we have video. But we just turned it off. There it is. It's gone now.
Wait. We can do this too.
Craig's doing it too. There he is.
Look at that guy.
Craig. Oh, there he is. Guy? Look, there's. Yeah, that is very still.
That is a big, giant, fat man. Now, to give you an idea of scale, a normal human is this big. All right. So this is the general, Ravos the Ever Hungry. Russ, how hungry was Ravos last night?
Ravos was very hungry. Many elves were consumed by Ravos.
Yes.
It was riveting video.
That's hey, we're doing our best.
We're an audio medium. But yeah, those will be. I'm going to bring mine. Go ahead, Craig.
I just said thanks, Kyle. He gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah, we're gonna totally.
Andy's just being mean. I think it's fear of the upcoming third child. It's gonna be okay.
Wow, you going there? Jeez. Okay. No. So there you have it. That's our Adepticon plans. So I'm probably going to sign up for that. But otherwise, we'll be doing our Sunday night board gaming thing as always.
Oh yes, the Sunday night board gaming with the D6G.
I just like to hang out at Adepticon and absorb all the hotness. So
And if Russ signs up for the Rune Wars, I think I probably will too. Although I will. Ooh. Well, the thing is, Russ, it's extremely difficult for us to sign up for stuff at Adepticon because as nice as they are to us, and they are super nice and they are super accommodating, they have no official way to have like press be involved in Adepticon. So most people have to actually buy their tickets and do everything as normal. The Adepticon Council for years has been really, really great with us, and they basically kind of, I mean, you can think of it as a press pass, but there's no such thing. So we have to go there every year. We have to find somebody like one of the higher ups and talk to them, and then they let us in. But because of that, it makes it very difficult. So if you're really hell bent on doing Rune Wars, Russ, you might have to forego the.
I have to actually splurge and pay for my own.
Exactly.
All right, next question. What this comes in from Nick, but it's also received a vote. So
nice job, you guys voting for each other. That's so cool.
What unreleased game are you most excited for in 2018? And Nick says that Star Wars Legion. Although isn't Star Wars Legion out already?
No.
Because I've already seen like the new Snowspeeder.
Yeah, you have.
I've seen the new Walker.
Look carefully at the announcement, which went on to say that when Legion releases, it will release with 6, I believe it's 6, or maybe it's even 8 expansions, including the Snowspeeder and the ATST.
Okay. So, Craig, what are you most excited about for 2018 so far?
I would have to join Andy in the relaunch of Dystopian Wars. Because technically, I guess Wild West Exodus is sort of kind of out right now. So, I mean, it's already out, sort of, kind of. I don't know.
No, but it's merging. So you got to have the Voltron of Dystopian Wars and Wild West Exodus. I think I'm pretty excited for that too. I think I'm. You know what? It's funny. I'm finding that I don't care about Star Wars Legion, and I feel very weird in saying that because normally I am a total Star Wars fanboy, and I think it's because, I really like, Star Wars Descent, as I call it.
Right. Yeah.
So, Imperial Assault. So I don't feel the need to buy another miniature game. I wish they had chosen the same scale. So if it was the same scale and I could now add snow speeders and full tabletop miniature combat to all the miniatures already owned for Imperial Assault, I think I'd be all in.
Now, interestingly,
the whole Star Wars miniature.
Interestingly, with you saying that about scale, we should mention that Kelly had a question. He thinks that the snow speeder looks too small. To be honest, I've only seen it on the box. I haven't seen it with models. Russ, have you seen it sort of in any pictures of it in the wild?
But I know the Walker, for example, they specifically told in the announcement there, they said it's twice the size. The ATST in Legion is twice the size of the one in Imperial Assault.
Is it
so
really?
They're correcting the scale there. But I don't know why they're not correct. Then why would the speeder be too small? So if they're doing, and one of the things that made X-Wing so great was they were really true to scale. So I'd be very sad if Fantasy Flight was kind of throwing that out the window.
Yeah, we'll keep that under advised. Andy is volunteering someone he knows if we're going to be doing a Dystopian Wars. Oh, look, Kelly sent us a link. You can send links.
Yeah,
see, I'm
and
afraid
I see the Snowspeeder.
If I click on this,
right there on that page, I see it.
If I click on it, I'm going to disappear forever.
No, Craig, control click. So little known trick, if you control.
No, I got it. I'm all good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
still hear you.
Out fine.
All right.
Does that
I think we've answered that question.
Does it look too small? I don't know.
It's hard to say. I don't know if it is too small because judging from when Luke hopped out of it, that seems about right to me.
Yeah, it did look. It feels small to me in the movie, so I guess that.
Yeah, it's not a big.
Yeah,
it's not a very big, fighter.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question was, we're done answering that one. The next question was, have either of us seen Ronin by Osprey Games?
I have not.
Me neither.
Sorry. Now we can just move on. Now, Russ, are you? Like, I know personally, I'm not a big, I don't feel a big draw to feudal Japan, which I would assume this is from. Is that different for you? Do you have a?
I could, I guess it's sort of the same. But to be fair, it's not just feudal Japan. I'm not drawn to any game that doesn't have lots of crazy factions.
Right.
So I think this goes back to I'm not really drawn to historicals in general.
Right.
That's sort of that's a personal problem, because I know many of my very good miniature gaming friends are huge historical gamers and get vast amount of enjoyment out of it. So it's really me missing out on something that I should be enjoying, but for some reason I don't. So it's a personal flaw.
Right.
Next question. Will you try to get a try Star Wars Legion of Adepticon?
That's a good question.
Or do we already try? We only watched it, right, Craig? I've not played a game.
No,
have you?
nope. I only watched it, and I will say that if they're doing demos like they were doing last year, I will try to get a demo in. I would like to get a demo in. My problem with the game, aside from everything Russ said, which I also agree with, insofar as I really like Imperial Assault, is that I think I can only handle, and we had this conversation this week in regards to Company of Iron. I think in my stable, I only have room for one token heavy game at a time, where I have to be exercising my brain to erase the tokens and the paraphernalia of the game from the board for my own cinematic enjoyment. And for me, is very much that game where I love the game, I love the mechanics, I love the way the dials work and what they do for the game, but I don't like the way they look when they're on the table, and likewise with all the tokens that stack up on all the different units. And so those mechanics, I enjoy them for that game, but I don't want to get into another one. And I really am not a fan of the way Fantasy Flight packages and merchandises these games, where you have to like buy 3 boxes to get one really decent sized unit. And so I feel and I don't know, I might feel differently. Like, I'll definitely do a demo, and I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so it may all come out in the wash, and I may come home from Chicago with 3 starters in my suitcase. That's never happened before. But that's sort of where I stand right now.
Again, I'm not super excited about it, but I think it's mostly the 2 faction problem, although I know they could make the mercenaries, and the fact that I've already got lots of Star Wars figures. So
right.
All right. How about this one? This is a good one. Andy, I got your back on this one. So have you guys had a chance to try out the new Star Trek Ascendancy expansions?
Ooh, yes.
So actually a couple weeks ago, I think I mentioned this on the podcast, I had a 5-player game of Ascendancy. I own all the expansions, including Borg, right? So I picked up the Borg at PAX Unplugged, so I have everything. Yeah. A few weeks ago, I guess it's 3 weeks ago now, I played a full game. We played for 3 hours, 5 players. We didn't bring the Borg to the party because for those who aren't familiar with Star Trek Ascendancy, it's a 4X Star Trek game. Fantastic components, really, really innovative map building mechanic. Probably the coolest map building I've ever seen in a 4X game. And the Borg are interesting because the Borg are only really for advanced play. You don't want to bring the Borg to the table unless you've got a group of experienced players, because the Borg are an NPC faction that strive to take over the table and wipe everybody out. And if the Borg win, the table loses. But the interesting part about the Borg is if they take out a player, that player is not eliminated from the game. He is just now allied with the Borg. So it's kind of like building in a traitor mechanic, although the game normally only has a single player victory anyway. But what's really cool about it, it's a true 4X game. You don't even know where the universe is going to be connected. And you're deploying these little worlds, and there's no connection at all. And you get bonuses for first contact as soon as there's space lanes that connect your circles to your opponent's circles. It's not like a hex grid. It's not like Twilight Imperium or Eclipse or any of those games where things are joined by hexes. It's really very cool abstracted movement system. What I really like too about the new factions is it really captures the essence of those factions. So the 3 core factions, the Federation, the Romulans, and the Klingons, all perfectly captured in the game. And now the Ferengi and the Cardassians, how the game works is it's a victory point game, but there are different ways to get victory points. You can get victory points by combat. You can get victory points by trading. You can get victory points by exploring. And so there's a variety of things to do, but the Ferengi are particularly interesting because they really are trade based. They really are not very good in combat, but their trade skills are brutal, as you might expect. So they really do a good job with all the factions. I am very, very pleased with it. In fact, I just played Legends of Zia the other night with 4 guys I haven't played with in a while, and we had such a great fun time with the 4X game. We should really play these long form board games a little more often. Who's got another 4X we could try? And I mentioned Ascendancy. They're like, oh yeah, I've so wanted to try that. So Ascendancy is definitely in the, and I think it's replaced. I used to really like either Eclipse or StarCraft, the board game. Talk about old school for sort of that giant
that's reaching back
conquest game. I think Ascendancy's replaced that for me as my favorite sci-fi 4X game. And I don't just say that because I'm a huge Star Trek fanboy. I really think they've got something here that's pretty solid, and it's not too heavy. It does play a long time, and if with 5 players, it's pretty long. But most 4X games.
How long did your game take last night?
The 5-player one took 3.5 hours. So it's not Twilight Imperium long, though. I mean, it's not like 12 hours, but it is a half day. I mean, but so is Legend of Zia, right? Like any of these 4X games, there aren't really any short, except for Tiny Epic Kingdoms and stuff. There aren't really any short 4X games. So
yeah.
I didn't think that was too bad. 3.5. And in that 5-player game, only I had played before. So I was totally teaching 4 other players. And we still got done in 3.5 hours. So I think it's pretty good. I think that's pretty decent.
No, that's not bad.
So I'm loving it. It's definitely a keeper.
Cool.
All right. What are the scales of the 2 games, Bob? I assume you mean when you're saying the scales question, are you talking about Imperial Assault versus Legion? Does anybody know the answer to that question? I don't really know. What are the official scales, Greg?
I don't know. I always just assume everything defaults to 28 millimeter. But you could be a little bit above or a little bit below that, and FFG has managed to go both a little bit above that with one and a little bit below that with the other, so that they don't match.
Yeah. So Nick has said that he thinks Imperial Assault is around 28 millimeter and Legion's about 32 to 35 millimeter.
So there
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nick. See, Nick's great. This is why you have the chat room. They're smarter than us.
Johnny on Nicky on the spot.
Craig, are we still playing Guild Ball or Conflict 47? Go.
That's a good question. I still have them both. I played Guild Ball about like a month or 2 ago, and Conflict 47 I haven't played in months upon months upon months upon months, but that doesn't mean I don't love it, and I still have 2 full armies, and it's just, I mean, the elephant in the room for me, army-wise, is 40K. So that's taking up modeling time and gaming time whenever I can get that in. That's just what I'm really enjoying right now. On the like fitting that into whatever Rune Wars and things of that nature that I can get in with Russ. So I haven't played Guild Ball or Conflict 47 in a while. No.
Guild Ball is still a huge hit in our area, though. We have a lot of people playing it. And I do. I haven't played it in a while myself, although I do want to play it. Part of the problem for me is I've been distracted now. I'm getting my skirmishing fix with Company of Iron by Privateer Press. So that's part of that. And the other part is, although I really was just at a hobby store the other day looking at all the cool World War II tanks and really wishing Craig and I were playing more Conflict 47.
Yeah.
Because I love the mechanics of bolt action. And there's that new faction. It was a couple. I was looking at the new, they just redid the rule book. I guess it was in fall now, but they redid the rule book to now handle bolt action 2 and all that stuff. And I really want to try it again, Craig. So I will.
Oh yeah, and the Japanese look awesome.
Yeah, and the Japanese just came out. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I could easily fall back into that trap. That's dangerous.
Yeah, and at the same time, I will say, just among us friends, that I'm finding Guild Ball is doing that sort of overcomplicated dance that I think a lot of skirmish games do. I think I felt Malifaux did the same thing. Once you get your model count and your faction count starts to go sky high, all the interactions start to get really confusing, and it becomes a game of like how familiar are you with, I think there's over 80 models now available in Guild Ball, or it might even be. So I finished the game early 2 weeks ago and was walking around, and Russ was playing Company of Iron. And even though War Machine has never really been my go-to, that was the table I kept coming back to. I didn't care at all about Malifaux. Guild Ball, I spent a little time there watching that game because I still understand the mechanics of it enough to enjoy watching it. But really the narrative there's really no narrative for me in Guild Ball at this point, where I'm trying so desperately just to figure out, what's going on. And if the game's not using a game clock, you've lost me even more so. So whereas Company of Iron is an extremely cinematic game where you can just picture this scene playing out in a fantasy movie in a heartbeat. And I'm really, really enjoying watching that more than the others in the little nooks and crannies of my free time.
All right. So here's a question. It's got a vote, so two people must care about it. Do you like Star Trek Ascendancy better than Fleet Captains? Yes. And that hurts me to say a little bit because I have Fleet Captains with all the expansions and I've painted all the ships.
Mm-hmm.
However, the thing I like about Ascendancy better is although Fleet Captains has a lot of ships, you don't command as many at a time. So you don't feel like you're commanding an entire fleet. You feel like you're commanding maybe a smaller squadron. Like one of the things cool about Ascendancy is you actually have fleet. You can have individual ships flying around, but you can also have entire fleets. And there's a fleet marker, and then there's like a little side card for each fleet. And you can put ships on that, so you can have like fleets of like 10 ships flying around. And certain fleet formations give you advantages, things like that. However, what Fleet Captains does is it's a little more role-playing game feeling because each of your ships is customizable and it's a specific named craft, and they kind of level up. But it really comes down to, and this is going to sound like company fanboyish, but I think it's true. Fleet Captain suffers from being made by WizKids, and Star Trek Ascendancy is better because it's made by Gale Force 9. So what I mean by that is the rules are much cleaner and tighter in Ascendancy, and the components are much better in Ascendancy as well. So while the clicking and stuff is pretty cool in Fleet Captains, Ascendancy is a much better game. And if I I still own both because I'm kind of a Star Trek fanboy, but if I were looking at both on a shelf tomorrow, I would totally recommend you buy Ascendancy over Fleet Captains in an instant. All right. So next question.
So that would speak to Andy's question as well, of which he should keep.
Yes, Ascendancy, Andy. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Craig, the next one's for you.
Kelly, well, it's odd that you should say that now. If I could get up with all these wires that are now ensconcing me and cross 3 feet to my project table, I would show you the box with Mortarion in it. So yes, I'm not going to buy Mortarion. I have already bought him. And I am only playing 1,000-point games right now, although a couple of our local guys are going into Adepticon to do the 1,500-point tournament. And so they've been asking to play 1,500 points. And I think eventually I'm going to try to get my goal is to get a 2,000-point game going because I also happen to have the Forge World Great Unclean one and a couple. I may or may not have half a demon army that I may have been collecting on the side with all the Nurgle demons. So I'm really hoping that I can get Mortarion on the table, but I don't know. I really don't want to play at any kind of competitive level at all. And so we're playing friendly here and locally, and I don't know how bringing up Primarch is going to be seen in that regard, but that's my hope. And thank you, David. I'm going to assume that meant that my Death Guard look fantastic in general, but they all do. They look awesome. And Andy played in a 16,000 point 40K battle last weekend.
What?
That's crazy.
How many hours is that, Andy?
Yeah. How many hours? One of the players
is 16,000 points.
Magnus is nothing. It's a beautiful model. Andy, we started at noon and finished at 6. I call foul. How could you do that? Locally, we can't do that with a 1,000-point game.
Yeah, Craig's a 6-hour game in 1,000 points. I don't know what you're talking about. You must have had timers.
Lords of War would soak up a lot of those points. Yep.
All right.
Bob, I would say that yes, this new rule set is a winner. It does still suffer from the fact that Games Workshop models are the Cadillacs of the miniature gaming world. So it costs a fortune to play this game, but I think it's a great rule set. I love playing with the objective cards so that your objectives constantly changing. I did have a game very recently where the main argument behind those objective cards is that your game can get kind of swingy, where you think you're in the lead and then all of a sudden the other guy gets a couple really good cards and cranks up his victory points way past yours. And I kind of had that happen to me against the White Scars last week, I think it was. Excuse me. But he was doing well enough killing my guys that in a more standard game, I would have probably lost also. So it's just a really neat way to play the game.
Yep. I'd agree that the new CEO at GW is doing a fantastic job.
Yes. Yeah. They got a lot going on. Those Adeptus Custodes army that just came out, that just was announced, looks ridiculously beautiful. Yeah.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question, Craig, because we do have to pause, unfortunately. This has been great fun. Actually.
Oh, we do. Yeah, this has been
a whole segment to record.
We do.
But guys, thank you so much. But we'll do one more question here. So we can either answer the current question in the queue, or you can add another question to the queue by clicking the Ask a Question button there, and then vote. And we'll give you guys all like 30 seconds to vote for your favorite one, and we'll answer that one. Meanwhile, Craig will have a different soliloquy. Craig, go. Give us a soliloquy.
I'll say, David, I'll talk about WWX for a second. I don't know how it's doing. Excuse me. It's very hard getting their attention at the moment with all the different things that they're doing. And then they've just acquired, of course, all the Spartan Games stuff. There are rumblings that that other big things are occurring over there at the same time. I don't have any details at all. Just little side comments that people have made that let me think that there's some big thing on the horizon. And so I don't know how it's doing for them. It's a great question. I'd love to know. It's starting to feel a little like it did working for Spartan, where it's very hard to keep in the loop with all of them over there, a 5-hour time difference. And I'm sure around the War Cradle water cooler, they're all having conversations. And every time somebody ever gets around to telling me something, the fluff's all changed a little bit, and just enough to make it constantly kind of a catch-up game for me. So it's a bit of a frustration. And I mean, I'm still involved. I still want to be involved. I'm still excited to be involved. And they still want me to be involved, which is cool. But as far as how it's going for them, I'm not sure yet.
All right. So I think we got to wrap it here. Bob, we'll have to save your time stories question for next time. So,
well, I can answer it quickly. Okay. I have not played Time Stories, nor have I played Pandemic Legacy.
No, but I have a burning desire to do both. So Time Stories, I've heard nothing.
I've watched people play Time Stories, and they have a lot of fun.
Yeah, Time Stories looks fantastic, as does now that season 2's out for Pandemic, I want to play that. I'm still playing through my Seafall campaign, though, so I'm trying to keep my legacy games down to one at a time. Is pretty much where I am on that.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. So we got all our questions and I'm feeling pretty good. Well, guys, thanks for experimenting on this with us. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us at the Dunkin' Donuts at the center of the universe.
Yeah, and we'll definitely do this again. So keep an eye out next week. I think this is pretty cool, and you can join in next week, same bat time. And we'll do achievements. You can jump in for achievements next week.
Yeah. And we will be trying maybe every now and then to do it at different times for those folks in different time zones.
Yeah. In fact, I know we're going to be doing Sundays later this month and in February.
Yeah. So this is going to be the default, though.
Yes. So, but I'll try to post at least a couple weeks in advance on Patreon so everybody knows.
Yes. And everyone should have donuts in front of them when we begin. That's
going to be a thing. In fact, Craig, we'll have to do that in the video. We'll have to show a video of donuts. That'll be a part of our
donuts. Yeah. Right. And coffee. Coffee's good.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye, everybody. That guy's giving us a weird look.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.